welcome to Women's Wealth, the podcast with me, Joanne. My mission is to educate, inspire, and empower you all to step into your own life of wealth. That feeling of being so rich in your mind, body, and soul. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's get straight into it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Women's Wealth with me, Joanne. I am your host, and I have an amazing guest today. It's actually my first male guest on the podcast. So we have our first gentleman in the room, honorary position there. And we have Dr. Amir Marashi with us today. And I'm just going to give a little bit of background and then pass it straight over. When I had the email saying, Dr. Amir Marashi would like to come onto your podcast, known as the Vagina Whisperer, I was like, oh my God. I actually said to my partner, I was like, the Vagina Whisperer. So I have read some of the information here, but I want to hear it from you. What makes you the Vagina Whisperer? How did you get this name? And tell us all about it.
Of course. Joanne, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your podcast and for what you're doing, to raise awareness around something that's really, really important. So they called me, I've been doing a lot of work around the vagina since very young age. I've been doing hymenoplasties, to basically prevent people from getting killed on the night of wedding in very, very backward cultures. I've also been helping victims of, and I want to say survivors of female genital mutilation. We're doing a lot of reversal surgeries on them and all of those. Lots of different functional procedures. But I got the nickname when we were doing a nonprofit trip to Haiti after earthquake. And we had a line of patients out the door, and there was this lady who nobody wanted her to be in the line, and they're like, oh, we can't see her. I'm like, why? They're like, doctor, and it's very French accent, she smells like doo-doo. I'm like, what's that? She smells like poo-poo, and nobody wants her. So she is basically casted off the community. Nobody wants to talk to her. Her husband divorced her because she smelled like literally poop. And I'm like, you know what? Actually bring her in. She doesn't need to wait 24 hours. Let me examine her if I can do something. So this poor lady became homeless because of this. Nobody wanted to be around her. So we examined her. She had 3 or 4 kids. I examined her without even any ultrasounds and everything. As soon as we examined her, I'm like, you know what? We're going to cure her. They said, how? And it really stunk in the room. Everybody walked out. I didn't even have a nurse with me staying in the room. And then one of the volunteer nurses came in. She's the one who gave me the nickname. I'm like, look, she has a fistula. There is a fistula, which is a tract between her rectum and her vagina. And that happened from childbirth. And nobody really bothered to examine to find this. So the stool would go from rectum, would sit inside her vagina, would just collect there and get very infected. So she had very bad vaginal infections because the stool is collected there. And she was a smell. She couldn't probably even stand her own smell. That's what she told me later on. So we started her on antibiotics. We booked her for next morning. I operated on her, and she's been one of my best friends ever since. She's back in Haiti, but through WhatsApp, she still writes to me and thanks me. And it's like, you know what, you changed my life. But anyways, the nurse who was there, one of the volunteer nurses, because this is right after earthquake, people volunteered from all different countries, different cities in the US. She told me, you know what? You're kind of a vagina whisperer. You just went by the vagina. And then the other nurse was making fun of it. And she's like, he's actually a vagina sniffer, I think. He sniffed it. And he's like, oh, I know what this is. So I thought the title Vagina Whisperer is better than Vagina Sniffer. So That was the story.
Yeah, I think Vagina Whisperer sounds more magical. Vagina Sniffer sounds like you need to be locked up in some kind of institution. But yeah, Vagina Whisperers have got more magic. And that story, I just think, kind of sums up a lot about, women and vaginas, that I feel that they're kind of the lost body part. They're the missing area, even though it is arguably the main area of a woman. It's the area that we need to reproduce, procreate, give birth, all of the things. But it's just such a taboo. And I'm guessing, was that the reason why that kind of slipped through? She managed to have 3 kids and this awful smile, and was it?
I mean, unfortunately, it's it's a country that they don't care too much about women anyways.
Yeah.
But even in the US, and this is the biggest problem, women's issues are really, I don't want to say women are second-class citizens. It doesn't sound right. But,
Yeah.
When we did the book, A Woman's Right to Pleasure, that was my whole thing. I started the book by saying that I always, even growing up, believed that God is a man, because everything for women is kind of second class. It's, and people don't really care about it. And women don't care about issues about women either. That's the biggest problem. Somebody has a lot of pain. The patient, I'm sure 100% they have endometriosis. They have such bad cramping. And they tell them, oh, it's okay. Everybody gets cramps. Just put up with it. They don't get orgasms with intercourse. It's fine. It's for him. It's about him. Just make sure you fake it. Make him happy. Nothing is really important. And for her, as soon as she started smelling like this, nobody really took the time to examine her deep enough to find out what's going on. And imagine what would have happened to her. She told me, she's like, I contemplated basically attempting suicide many times. Imagine being in this situation and nobody is even there to hear you. But the biggest problem is, Joanne, that even women don't care about this. There is 100 times more research about erectile dysfunction than about women's pleasure.
Yeah.
Look at all the medicine that's out there, all the implants for penises, all of these. And then as soon as I start talking, and none of those things, by the way, get banned on social media, have any problems. As soon as I talk about the woman's right to pleasure, about, a revision labioplasty, or talk about, we do these vaginoplasties or vaginal procedure to fix the angle of the vagina for women to actually enjoy intercourse better. They're like, oh, that's vanity. Why do you even need that? Why do we want to just play with something that God created? No, we want to improve the function. It's exactly the same thing men go out there and do all the time. Viagra got approved in shorter time that COVID vaccine was approved. Can you believe that? And
crazy.
And for women, you go through all these medicines that research has been around them and they don't approve them. I mean, one of them got approved recently. It takes such a long time because nobody really cares.
Yeah, I actually shared a fact in one of the podcasts, and it stays in my mind, and you'll probably know this. The numbers might be quite a little bit off, but I think it's something like 90 to 95% of women suffer PMS symptoms, but there isn't really any, doctors don't really know what to do with that, and a lot of women are sent away. But I think it was 15% of men have erectile dysfunction, but then there's all of these cures and tablets and potions and lotions and things that can be done for just a small amount of men, but nearly that it might as well be 100% if it's not 95% of women, but there just isn't anything that is there for them. So like you've just said, it's totally acceptable in a man's world, even in 2024, and we have come forward, but we still do live in a man's world, particularly when it comes to sex, genitals, talking about those things that, as women, even sometimes on my podcast, I'm like, I shy away from certain things because of what people are going to say, what is, the judgment. And I'm sure you find your patients that are coming in feel exactly the same.
Absolutely. They feel like they are not being heard. And it's very unfortunate. Even the research, forget about, let's not, people say, oh, this is you talking about genitals and you talk about sex. Let's completely forget about this. Let's talk about blood pressure medicine or like diabetes medication and the medications that are, very commonly being used. Most of the research and papers that are done on these medicines are done on men. Nobody really found the dosing for women. They're like, oh, you know what? Aspirin, you use it like this, you use it like that. Well, we did the research on these many men or these many people, this age, and usually women are not even part of this research, part of these papers. So I'm sure there could be a different physiology or different dosage that would be appropriate. Of course, it's pretty close, but why don't you involve women? And one of the main important reasons that fortunately is changing right now is that a lot of chairmen, a lot of people who were in charge, were men who were deciding for everybody. And basically, they did it the way they wanted to do it. Look, you know what this is? This is the clitoris, right? This is anatomy of the clitoris. So when you look from outside, if you tell somebody, where's the clitoris? They tell you, oh, it's this little bump that's here. That's what they told me in medical school. But this bump is just this part of it. The rest is all under your labia, sitting underneath there. And it's a very, very important organ. Why didn't they teach us? In medical school, they never taught me this is the anatomy of clitoris. In residency, they didn't teach me. You know what the reason is? So the clitoris, actually, the drawing of it has been around for a couple of 100 years. And it was actually in anatomy books. It was in Gray's Anatomy. And what happens? 100 years ago, Freud comes and he writes a paper that any orgasm that comes from clitoris, and he calls this part clitoris, any orgasm that comes from clitoris, it's an immature orgasm. And a real orgasm has to happen by a penis, by penetration only, right? So what happened? This organ, which is one of the most important organs, if not the most important organ in your body, gets completely censored from every single medical textbook. And after that, it's not until the past 5, 6, 10 years that we slowly, after so many people talking about it, we are getting it back in the books. And people are like, wow, so this was the clitoris? The definition of clitoris we studied in med school is that it's a small prominence that's basically where both labias are meeting on top. It's not a small prominence, it's a big organ. It's just like a penis. You have the internal part, that's like external part of penis. It gets engorged completely. It has blood supply just like penis. You have erected clitoris, just like an erected penis. But there are no studies around it.
That's crazy. So Freud has got a lot to answer for. I've been hearing about him a lot lately in different areas. We've put a lot of trust in his words, but when you actually dive deep into his background and what he was actually presenting, isn't all what it seems to be. And I didn't realize that he was the one that labeled, just the outside part of the clitoris. I had heard that the clitoris was a few inches big, but I'd never seen it. I just never seen it.
You've seen sex toys. You've seen sex toys, right? So for the past 28,000 years, they've been making sex toys that look like penises. They found with mummies and like all those burials, they find this little like a stone that's like a penis that went with them to heaven or wherever they sent them to. So they have an extra penis with themselves. They never had a tool or a toy that is after anatomy of clitoris. Clitoris is the equivalent of penis in women. And this is actually from, we bring research to the bedroom. The company that I created with another physician and some people who are very passionate, we are like, we want to make something that is actually anatomy of clitoris, not because I want this to vibrate, not because I want this to stimulate you. It does all of these things. And it's a good toy. It's a good tool. But I wanted people to hold this and be like, well, I pack as much as you pack inside. This is exactly the same thing. And we took this to Times Square, by the way, showed it to 100 people. We wanted to do 100, see how many know what it is. Only 1% said it's clitoris.
Was that a man or a woman?
It was a woman. We got wishbone, we got mouth guard, we got penguin, we got all of these things. We didn't get clitoris. We only got one clitoris.
That's crazy. But I do always think back to my own sex ed classes in school. And even now, I think most women just call the whole of the area vagina, but that's not even correct either, is it? Because the bit, so we just label it vagina and yeah. Oh yes, there we go.
So let me teach you. So this is the anatomy everybody needs to know. So vagina is the canal that's inside here. So this is the vagina, right? This is anus. That was the canal is vagina. This part, the whole part outside, if you want to call broadly, you can call it vulva. Okay. Now, vulva has different parts. You have labia minora, this part that's pretty pink here. And then you have labia majora, this part that's outside here, right? Like the cheeks, labia majora. And then you have mons pubis up here. Those are not that important. And then you have clitoris. This is just the glans of clitoris that's sitting underneath clitoral hood. So what you see here is clitoral hood, right? And underneath it, you see a tiny prominence. That's really the glans of clitoris. That's this part that's coming out of the hood. So the hood is the top part of labia minora that are going up and they meet each other. And as you see right underneath it, there's a little dot. That is basically the clitoral glands, which when it gets erected or when it gets engorged, it becomes a lot larger. And that's why when people stimulate this area, of course, you see the erection of clitoris or engorgement of clitoris. But it's just like the iceberg. The biggest part of it is inside. And this is actually wrapping around the vagina. So this part is sitting right on top of the vagina. So when you have intercourse, really the front wall of the vagina is the most sensitive. It's not really vaginal orgasm. It's still clitoral orgasm, but it's the inner part of clitoris. And that's what we are trying to let people know, because it makes it much easier for people to kind of get orgasms and enjoy sex a lot better.
Yeah. And what is I don't have these numbers. So for women, what is the orgasm rate? So I'm guessing for men, it might be nearly 100. What is it for women? Do you know?
Absolutely. So depending on what kind of reference you read, it is between 85% to 95% of women don't orgasm by vaginal penetration, So some people say 70%, but depending on what kind of research you are looking at. But in reality is that these people, everybody can have that vaginal orgasm by penetration if you do it the right way. And that is all about the angle of the vagina. So the anterior vagina is not like a flat, organ. It's downwards, so it goes down. So when the penis enters, it's supposed to hit the front wall of the vagina, right? The top wall. And why is the top wall very important? Because the clitoris is sitting right on top, as we said.
Yeah.
So all of the nerves are sitting in the front wall of the vagina, on the top wall. So when you have intercourse, you hit the front wall of the vagina, and that is where you have 12,000 nerves, and it gets stimulated. Now, many times, even with aging, childbearing, and anything, we lose collagen, just like you lose collagen in your neck, your faces start becoming droopy. Same thing happens with the vagina, becomes flat. You have intercourse, you don't have that stimulation to the front wall. The partner is not large enough, you don't get that stimulation to the front wall. So we did a paper actually to see what's the most rewarding position for women in intercourse. And what we did, a lot of it is in the brain, but we wanted to be able to quantify it. So we did ultrasound on the clitoris, which is a protocol we created ourselves to see what's really going on and if something works or not. So you look with ultrasound from outside, and you see when the clitoris becomes completely engorged. So you see the blood flow, you see the erection of clitoris, you do the measurements. So we wanted to see which position is the most basically satisfying position for a woman. And it was, the position would be missionary position with a pillow underneath buttocks. So when you have the pillow under the buttocks with missionary, you kind of tilt the angle even more. So even if the guy is blind and his penis is small, he kind of has to, reach that area. And that's why a lot of women say, oh, I like missionary, like with a pillow. Or a lot of women tell you, I like to be on top, because once they are on top, they kind of control the angle themselves. So a lot of it is about the angle. So for you to be able to shoot for that G zone. And if you do that, a lot of those people who don't get vaginal orgasms, when they come to us, we do a lot of different things to help them. And they're like, wow, I never knew that I can get orgasms like this. These are not, every kind of patient from all walks of life, doesn't matter if they're like 20 years old or my 80-year-old patient, they're like, wow, these orgasms are very different. So, but unfortunately, there was never an education about this for women, and nobody really cared to study biomechanics of intercourse. It's not important. For men, cock rings have been around for so many years. Viagra, Yohembin, just you name it. There are so many of these things, but hopefully we are catching up with the research. We try to get more people involved by teaching and doing research and getting partners to do that. So
just interrupting this episode to remind you to please like, subscribe, drop 5 stars if you enjoy listening to my podcast. It really does mean the world to me. And also to remind you, you can now watch every episode on my YouTube channel. Head to YouTube, type in Joanne Wealth, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was just thinking then as you were talking that as a woman, I don't know if it would be an awkward conversation with you, but no one ever tells you sort of this is what you do. You just, when you come of age and you start your sexual relationships, no one ever says. And unless you're with, in my own experience, a partner for a while, then you have the confidence to say, tell them what you like, what you don't like. But if you don't have that kind of relationship, and I'm guessing even some people might not have, who've got a partner for a while, just being able to openly say, like, look, this is what I need, or I don't like that, or that doesn't feel right, let's try this. I'm guessing a lot of women kind of just then get stuck, because how do you approach the subject? Especially
they should. No, you're absolutely right. And it's very sad. I tell my patients, you have to be very empowered. And, the unfortunate situation happens that every woman out there, not everyone, but most people you meet and you see, they try to, and this is probably what came from their mothers and the mother of the mother, they want to please their partner. They want to, oh, you know what? he's good looking, he has money or whatever, I would do anything. Should I sleep with him the first time? Should I wait until second time? They always think to just, what do we do? What kind of game do I play for him to just love me? Does he love me? Does he love me not? They don't think about themselves. And that's what I always tell my patients. I'm like, just think in the reverse way. Just make it be in a way that he wants to know if you love him or not. He wants to come after you and run after you and wants to really, really get lucky to be with you. And once you're with him in bed, of course, give it all to him, but tell him what makes you happy. You know what? I want you to go down on me. Or no, I hate that. I don't want you to go down on me. I want you to do it like this. Trust me. This is what most women don't know. They try to please men and they just give so many things away for that reason. And they give their own, self away. But the reality is that men are like puppies, Most men are like puppies. What does a puppy want to do? What does a dog want to do? Yes, they want to have fun all the time, but they want to please their owner. They want to do something. If this is the question I have for you. If you have a puppy, you just get a puppy and they pee all around the house and you don't tell them anything, they think that's normal. Yeah. Once you get mad and you're like, no, don't do that, I'm upset, they will not do it. When they come lick you, you like it, they continue licking you. You say, no, I hate this. They are not. Puppies want to make you happy. Men are the same way. But unfortunately, this is becoming reverse. Women are trying to, I don't know. And why is that? I mean, we were just in surgery with one of my really good nurses. Very amazing woman. But she's like, oh, what do I do for men to like me? What do I do for this? I'm like, please stop this. You are this high. There was a movie, they said, you're putting, pussy on the pedestal. You really have to put it on the pedestal for women. You have to have it this high up. And if you want to reach to it, you need to really go through all these hoops and everything. And you got to be worth it. You can, and most men hate me for saying this, but reality is that women have a lot of power. Look, as you said, this is the most powerful organ. That's what I tell people. All of us came out of one of these, right? Everybody came out of a vagina and they all worked their whole life to get back into one. So, what you have to, you can't give it up easy. You have to have respect for it and respect for yourself. And one part of respect is that you want to make sure you enjoy. If you are giving it, if you are having sex, you want to enjoy as much as he enjoys. As you said, it's 100% satisfaction for them. Yes, it is. Yeah. So you have to have 100% of times, you have to come. And if it doesn't happen by intercourse, well, do something else. Use some tools, toys, whatever you are doing, but make sure he's involved or she is involved. And you go all the way to the end, because it's not fair for one person to go 100% and the other person to just go 20%. That's not fair.
Yeah, it is. It's finding that mutual ground. And again, having those maybe awkward conversations, but really allowing yourself to put yourself at the top of the pedestal. It's powerful, it's empowering. And I think a lot of women have just disconnected with that area as a whole, because like you said, it's very, very powerful. Like, I believe that we have disconnected because it's kind of been fed into us for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, that, whether it was patriarchy or whatever, to keep women small because of the power that we actually could have if we just let ourselves fully embrace it. And, embracing every single part of our body, how it works, we can do with it. But I think we're just keeping ourselves really small, even still. Obviously, it's getting better, but, we're still within those Victorian ages of women being called hysterical when, emotional, and sent to the madhouse back in the Victorian times because they did have a sexuality and they were feeling, whatever they were feeling, and going to the doctors and being locked up for it. And I think, we're not at that anymore, but there's still elements of that in daily life that, as soon as a woman shows a little bit of feeling or says that she enjoys having sex or, any of these things, it's still very different from when a man does it, which is kind of what we're trying to contend with, isn't it? Still in 2024.
No, absolutely. And you know what? I think it's happening. I think it's going to take a while, but fortunately, with the power of social media, power of, podcasts, a lot of people like yourself who are coming out here and spending your time to bring this knowledge to everyone. This is very helpful because, each of us is just one person. But when you come all together, more and more people start knowing about this. I mean, you know what? They are right. That's right. This is not the way I've done it so far. It's not easy. And I think it's not the right way. And I think it takes a while for everyone to get to that point. And of course, a lot of men are changing too. I have some of my patients that they have their partner sit down and listen to podcasts with them. I was on, a couple of years ago, I was in Skinny Confidential, Lauren Bostic. And a bunch of my patients, they're like, oh, we're so happy you were on there. And we had our husbands sit down and listen to the podcast. And you know what? They learned a lot of things. And I think that is very important because sometimes men, when they hear it from another man, you don't need to be that macho. You don't need to be, okay, great. You have a penis. Who cares? Donkey has one too, and it's probably much bigger than yours. So that is the thing. You have a penis, you can provide for your family. Well, yes, that's what it's supposed to be. But at the same time, you need to care about everybody's needs who live with you, whether that's your kid or your wife, because everybody has needs, and it's not fair for people. And I hear it every single day that after like a year of being with someone, they're, you know what? We have sex maybe once a week, and it's kind of like just a chore. I just do it for him. I really love him, but it doesn't do anything for me. And that is the problem with sex. I tell people, it's kind of, you see a restaurant that you really love on the corner. It looks really nice from outside. You go to this restaurant, the food is shitty. The second time, you're like, oh, let me give them a chance. It looks really good. You go, the food is really bad. The third time, well, you just don't want to do it anymore. And that's the same thing that happens. If you don't make sure your female partner doesn't have good orgasms, they don't enjoy sex, they want to have it less and less and less. So that's what I tell guys all the time. Make sure every single time, even if you don't come, which they do, make sure they come, make sure they have an orgasm. Orgasm is amazing for you. The amount of oxytocin you get from a good orgasm, the amount of endorphins, which are internal morphines, and enkephalins. These are the things that you go to the gym for hours running on treadmill and everything, and you don't get even 1/100th of what you get from a good orgasm. So these are really good for your brain. You're trying to get pregnant? Guess what? When you get orgasms with the oxytocin, the movement of fallopian tubes are a lot more. And the chance of getting pregnant, the fertility rate goes a lot higher. You want good heart health. Same thing. Diabetes control, all of these. Orgasm is really, really good. And even if not with a partner, I tell people, I'm like, just masturbate. Masturbate. Even if your partner is not up to par or you don't have a partner, try to at least 3 times, 4 times a week, if not every single night, just masturbate.
Yeah. I didn't realize it had so many health benefits as well. And I'm guessing
a lot more than this.
Mental health benefits, because you do have that oxytocin rush, because obviously, so anyone struggling with mental health, why not? Some people go for a walk.
Absolutely. No, you should. And look, I mean, this is something we started a trend, and some of the employers may hate me for this, but people who get very stressed out, they tell me, well, my work is so stressful. I'm like, do you have lunch break? Yes. But masturbate during lunch break. How do I masturbate? I'm like, listen, get a very strong vibrator. And we made something ourselves. It's like a TSA approved bullet, which is the strongest on the market. And that's the reason I did it, because I'm like, you don't need to even put it inside your pants or inside your dress. You can do it over jeans and you can masturbate. And a lot of people are starting, like, we call it, between me and my patients and some people I, do counseling for them, we call it a lunchtime masturbation. So whenever they call me, oh, you know what? I'm so pissed, this, that. I'm like, did you do your noon masturbation yet or not? And no, I'm like, well, go do it. Because you immediately reset your entire body. And it's better for your employer. You're going to be a better worker. You have breastfeeding rooms. You have bathrooms. You should have masturbation room. No, just sit down and masturbate. You come back to work such a better person. I mean, we are far from that, but I promise you, and we can record this. I'm glad that you're recording this. There's going to be a day very soon that Google or Facebook or one of these companies is going to be like, you know what? We need a masturbation room. I have a lot of traders I know, oil and gas traders, like Wall Street traders. And these are guys. And of course, we have the guy talks. Yeah. And their job is very stressful. And some of them say, you know what? 2, 3 times a day, I just go to the bathroom and I masturbate. I'm like, of course, and same thing women need to do. And for women is a lot less messy. You can just sit down and have something, either with the app or not the app, just get a bullet on top of your jeans and just change your life and change your day.
That's so funny, but it is. Maybe you should start it. Hashtag bring it in, and eventually it'll start catching on. That's all we need it to go viral.
Let's do it. I'm telling you, either Google, Facebook, or Instagram, they are going to have a masturbation room. I don't know if it's going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but when they realize this needs to be done, they will do it. It's going to make companies a lot more productive.
Yeah, it will. It will, because it releases a lot of that, especially in men. I know that they can get really angry if they need to do that and they haven't. So it's releasing that, I don't know what, obviously it's the oxytocin that then helps them to calm down and
resets you. It's not just for men. I tell you, because I do a lot of anti-aging medicine for women, and I do a lot of orgasm improvement with things that nobody is doing that much yet. We do stem cells, exosomes. We are very, very outside the box, fixing the angle, all of those. And I tell you, a lot of women who had even mental health issues, they had different issues, and they were not very productive in their lives. Right now, that they actually get good orgasms and they masturbate regularly, they feel so much better. They're like, you know what, my life has changed. And I bet you this is very easy for your listeners and yourself to completely understand, is that imagine you are not in a very good mood. Life has not been good the past 2 years. You start going to the gym 1 hour a day. And you feel after a month, you're like, you know what? I feel so much better about myself.
Yeah.
Whether it's so I'm telling you, one masturbation, the amount of internal morphines you get is 100 times more than that. And it's free. You don't need a trainer. You don't need anything. It's just yourself.
That's everyone's homework for today, is to do, from listening to this, do 30 days. Let me know. You can reach out to the doctor as well. Let him know. And maybe we can start a trend here.
30-day masturbation challenge. How's that?
Yes. Yeah, we'll do that. Starting from when this goes live, we'll start it. And if anyone does it, reach out to either of us and let us know, because I would love to know. Yeah, let us know.
Create the hashtag. Let's do it. I completely agree.
Yeah. Yes, let's do it.
Awesome.
So before we sign off, is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners? Anything that you're doing, anything that you have on at the moment, or anything that you've created, and where they can find you as well?
Sure. So any questions you have, of course, any listener, I'm very hands-on myself. They can DM me on social media. It's NYC, like New York City, NYC GYNO, NYC Gyno. They want to see me in person. Of course, they can DM me. I see patients in New York, Houston, Miami, and Dubai. But
In Dubai.
other than that, right. You can text me, DM me, and any questions that you have, I can answer. I also we are trying to bring science back to the bedroom. So bringing science back to the bedroom, we do a lot of ultrasound studies. The sex toy industry for many, many years was all about, some people sat in the boardroom and be like, oh, you know what, let's make a penis that looks, I don't know, white and it's bent this way, or is black and is like a spiral, or butt plug that's like that. So we wanted to bring science back to the bedroom. And what I did, I teamed up with a few people. One of them is actually my main partner. She did medical engineering back at Harvard, did medical school at Yale, and ended up doing radiology in New York. So we wanted to substantiate any claim that's out there. So every single sex toy we got, we dissected the anatomy on it, we opened them up, we got all the orgasm gels that are out there, we kind of tested them. We did chemistry testing on everything, and we realized what's good, what's not good. For many years, I've been working on this orgasm gel, so we perfected that. We got a few awards on it, actually. It got written up, not in tabloids, it's got written up actually in journals that are peer-reviewed journals for doctors, and a lot of doctors across the country and all the way to Middle East right now, they are using it. We are in Australia, England, Europe, Middle East. So this company is called Cere, Get Cere, GETCERE. So getcere.com or check it out on Instagram. But all of it, all the tools that we are making, they are made after your anatomy, how we can go around the clitoris to get the most amount of orgasms. Even the butt plug that we have, it's called angle rectifier. And since I told you the anatomy, when you put a butt plug the right way inside the anus, you bring the opening of the vagina higher. So you fix the angle. You create that downward angle, so you get much better orgasms. And of course, this brought me to create a couple of procedures that make orgasms better. But there's a lot that you can see on social media. I don't want to take the podcast time to promote, the brand we are working. I'm passionate because, I think we need to bring science back to the bedroom for women. For men, there's a lot of it already in the bedroom, but for women, we really need to do more and more.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that as well, obviously, as a woman. But I think it's important that we do talk about the science behind it and take away the stigma, because just like we talk about the men's body parts and how all of that works, there's a science behind the woman, and it's not just something to shy away from and cover up and, not really talk about. We need to be talking about it. We need to be learning about it, all our body parts, and really learning about the woman's body, because, like I said, it's such a powerful thing. And at the moment, we're kind of still in the shadows. So it's just that empowerment, learning the science and allowing yourself to enjoy your own body instead of, we have so much as women anyway, that body image and, starting to just love every single part of us, all the inches.
Very well said. Very well said. I couldn't put it better than that. Absolutely.
And thank you so much for joining me. It's been I can't wait to get this out there so everyone else can hear it. And thank you so much. And
thank you for having me.
Everything that you've said as well in the show notes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.